Welcome back. It's New Year. Happy New Year, Maria. How are you doing? Are you having a good one so far on day 3 of the new year?
Yes. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
This year.
2025 seems to be treating us well so far.
Yes, I've learned a very geeky fact about 2025. It's a perfect square.
What's that? What's the geeky fact?
It's a perfect square.
Oh,
it's 45
that's right.
squared.
The number 2025. Wow, that's great. That's great. Oh, well, that's awesome. Are you ready to thrive in 2025 with Sci-Train, Maria? We're going to get going here. We're live on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this live, you can put comments into the LinkedIn feed by just clicking on the comments, just adding comments as we go through our New Year's resolutions. Or indeed, if you're listening to this on playback, if you're listening to the Sci-Train LinkedIn feed later, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Hope it's still 2025 by the time you get to listen to this. But we've all been making... Maria, have you made some New Year's resolutions this year?
I'm very bad with making resolutions because I'm very bad at keeping them. So I'd rather not resolve and then just do the thing.
What about resolutions for writing and publishing? We're going to go through 12. We came up with 12 top New Year's resolutions in our series, How Do You Solve a Problem with Maria and Gareth? We're ready with 12. And these are great tips, right, Maria? If you action these tips, if you implement these tips in your writing and publishing, we should think that you'll be finding it easier to get your research published. Would you agree with that as a start to 2025?
Yes, I think it's better to... It's very professional things. It's good to have a plan of what you need to do, and then go through with it until you reach the end stage, and you can start to think about how everything in your story fits together, so you can write papers.
That's right. So we've got 12 New Year's resolutions. We're going to put them together in sequence for you as we go through the process of starting to think about putting your research into a top journal. So New Year's resolution number 1. Are you ready, Maria, for resolution number 1? Let's go. Resolution number 1. It's about journal selection. Does this figure make any sense at all? What do you think, Maria? Journal selection?
Well, your audience who reads your paper, and how you kind of make yourself appealing to people that are flooded with papers right now.
Exactly. There's about 2 million papers published every year these days. Like, the output of researchers has increased extremely dramatically over the last 5 or 6 years. About 2 million papers were published in 2023. About 30,000 papers per month are published in the medical sciences alone. So New Year's resolution number 1, how are you going to stand out from the crowd? And that's all to do with the journal that you select for your research. And we've talked about this a lot in our previous events. You can have a look at our Sci-Train content around journal selection, but standing out from all the other work that gets published is really important, right, Maria, as our first New Year's resolution today?
Yes, because there is a lot of noise. You want to make absolutely clear from the get-go what differentiates your story from the other ones that are out there.
Exactly. So that's the first resolution to make. When you're putting your research together, when you're thinking about writing up and publishing your next research paper, what is it about your research paper that makes it stand out from all the rest of the papers that are going to get published? Resolution number 1. Ready for resolution number 2? Resolution number 2, Maria, it's all about your message. What you need to know before you start to write your next academic article, right?
Yes. So we are all extremely attention deprived because there is just too much information, too much noise. So focus on one key message, what you need to convey with your paper, who you want to convey it to, and how you're going to do it. And how you're going to do it could be through a research paper, could be through a presentation, could be through writing a blog post, could be very different ways. But with each way that you convey your same message, you have to switch the way that you're talking to people in regards to people that you're talking to, because you have to tailor it to the audience.
This is very important. So before you begin to write, think about 3 things. Have 3 things in mind. Resolve to think about 3 things before you begin the writing process. What's your message, as Maria talked about, and as our first New Year's resolution also makes clear? What is it that makes your work stand out? Who are the audience going to be? That's your journal selection and the structure of the writing, which is something that we're going to come back to in one of our later Sci-Train New Year's resolutions, which brings us swiftly on to resolution number 3, the third thing that you can do as a writing and publishing researcher to make the process easier. And that is thinking about what kind of writer you are. Maria is not a native speaker. Maria.
So you have to construct what you want to say. You have to figure out where in the story you're going to place key pieces of information. So instead of just throwing your paint all at a canvas, be more like Arnold, be a bricklayer, and start constructing brick by brick what you want to tell people. Don't surprise them with something halfway through. Just make it clear that you want to say something in a specific context and move forward from that.
Very, very important to have a structure before you begin the writing process, especially if English is not your native language. But for anybody putting a research article together, our resolution number 3 is really important. Building a structure, how you start writing, carefully constructing a plan beforehand really, really helps with the writing and publishing process. So do resolve to do that before you begin. So that's the first 3 of our fantastic New Year's resolutions. I wonder what number 4 could be. As an easily actionable, implementable, great word, tip for writing and publishing. Maria, it's all about structure, how you put the structure of your writing together.
So you're telling people a story. That's the best way that they're going to remember what you want to tell them, is through the lens of a story. So people need to know where they're coming from, what's the feel that they need to have before they embark on your story, what do they have to know, where they are now, what's known, and where they are going, which is where you're going to take them. What is the new thing that you're presenting them? And this structure, it's a 3-act structure. It's what you tell people in stories, in lullabies, in most ways that people will remember and incorporate the message that you're going to tell them.
Like a song or like a plot. And speaking of songs, this whole series is based upon a fantastic series of songs. How do you solve a problem with Maria and Gareth? And that's important. So think about academic writing just like any other kind of creative writing. You need a plot, you need a story, and you need a structure, as we talked about in resolution number 3, so that people know where they are at every particular point in your academic article. And if you'd like to learn more about writing strategies, writing techniques, you can, of course, jump on over to Sci-Train.com and learn more about the fantastic webinars and training that we do for researchers. But moving on, at the moment in our New Year's resolution, we should have called it the New Year's Honors List. It's the New Year's resolutions list. Here comes tip number 5. Maria, why do academic articles look like egg timers? Very strange.
Very, very strange. Or 2 pyramids look at each other. But it's because you start off big. You need to tell people what is the context, the structure, what other people before you have done. Tell them where you are. Tell them who are the characters in your story. And then you narrow it down to what specifically you did, what you found, what you went to look for, and then tell them what you found. So that in the end, you can broaden it up again by telling them what it all means. Don't leave it up to chance for them. Allow some leeway for them to think about it, but tell them specifically your interpretation because it is your paper.
The results and the method section are very specific to your particular piece of writing. That's the narrow section of the egg timer. You're not going to broaden the scope. You're not going to talk about what's been done before. You're not going to broaden the idea. But when you begin the paper at the top of the introduction, you want to keep people interested. You want to get people thinking that they want to read the rest of the paper. So beginning that introduction with a general theme. Why is this research important? And then getting more and more specific as you then tie the end of your introduction into the methods section. Here we show in this paper, we did X, Y, and Z. And then building out the discussion, starting off by telling people the answer at the beginning of the discussion, and then getting more general. Why is the work important? You can implement this resolution number 5, quite easily by thinking about your research paper, your research article in the context of an egg timer or 2 pyramids stacked on top of each other, as Maria was saying. Have you done this in your own research articles, Maria? Have you implemented this one, this resolution?
Yes, because it's the easiest way to walk people through the message that you want to tell them. It's the easiest to start out with the broad problem you were thinking about, and then what you found that was missing, then what you did to fix that issue, and then the implications for everybody else.
It looks basic, but if you find articles written and published in your field in leading journals, you'll find that they do follow this basic structure. So putting a paper together, although a creative process and difficult, if English is not your native language, can nevertheless be broken down into clear, actionable, defined pieces of the writing. And that was resolution number 5. What about resolution number 6 as we get halfway through our fantastic list of New Year's resolutions? Something else that you can do to thrive in 2025 as a strategy for getting your work effectively published. Maria, I know you do this all the time.
Yeah, just ask people. People are there, they have a job, they want to have good research published in their journals. So ask the editors, send pre-submission inquiries, tell them what you're thinking about, tell them why you think that the research you're planning to write on is fit for their paper, and they let you know whether they're interested in that topic, whether there is another journal in the wider editors field that could probably be better suited. They will help you with that. They will then also address your doubts, any doubts that you may have regarding submission. This is very important whenever you have a load of forms that sometimes you need to have when submitting research that was done in humans. So it is quite important to have that relationship with the editor to begin with.
It's very common in medical sciences. Maria's a biomedical researcher by background. This is typically done in the biomedical sciences. Researchers first contact journal editors or a range of journal editors, asking those journal editors, hey, Dr. Machado, would you be interested in seeing a submission from our research team on this particular topic to your journal? And then the editor will get back to you and say no, or they might say yes, do send it to our journal, or perhaps one of our sister journals, one of the other journals in our portfolio. And this is a technique that you can implement. You can resolve to do this no matter what your subject area is in your own research in the future. It dramatically speeds up that publication process. Any researchers in any subject area can do this, right, Maria? But what should people feel bad if editors don't reply? Is that a problem?
Not really, because the no is always granted, right? So you can always figure out whether there's just too many papers being published on that specific topic in that journal lately, and they want to give it some more time until they publish again. there is a number of reasons, and it may not be because research is not good enough. It may just be editorial and business model related. But that's a reason why sometimes those inquiries, presentation inquiries, will speed up the process whenever you're submitting, because it will tell you which journal is genuinely interested in what you're about to know.
It's a great tip. I love this one because what it also does from a psychological perspective, if you get that positive response from Dr. Machado, she says, do send this article to our journal, you're already in her mind when you do make that submission. You're already ahead of the curve, if you like, when you do make your final article submission. The editor will recognize you, your article. They've already said that the paper is suitable for potential publication in their journal. So you've got that piece of ammunition if you need to use it a little bit later. This is a great resolution that we do recommend everybody listening to this implements in order to thrive in 2025 as a research, writing and publishing academic. And what about lucky number 7? New Year's resolution number 7 for writing and publishing effectively. It's having a roadmap for impact, right, Maria? Knowing how your research is going to make a difference once it's published.
Yes. So a lot of early career researchers will think that once they've published a paper, that's it. That there's nothing more they need to say about it. It's a study that has been done and completed. They'll probably have moved on from it in their own research on what they're doing in the lab. But that doesn't mean that you cannot increase the impact of your paper by talking about it in conferences, by writing blog posts, plain language summaries, by getting it out there in with different audiences than the ones that you first thought of. Don't forget that research papers are very narrow focused. They are for other researchers in your field, and if you want research to have a broader impact in society, in nation, you'll have to find other ways of conveying your message that build upon your research paper, but may not be research paper. Things that are more visually appealing, things that have other ways of conveying the message that is a simplified version without being dumbed down.
Very, very important. Some of the most successful researchers in terms of their profile, their overall profile and impact in the field, are those researchers that don't just head down, publish papers, but also talk about their research. They have a public presence. They have a blog, as Maria was saying. They're talking about, writing about, making videos about, talking about their research. So very important and easy to implement. Just have a look at some people in your field who do this all the time, and you'll know who they are. You'll know who the big talkers, the big social media personalities are in your particular research field. You can develop easily your own 2025 in order to thrive roadmap for impact. And that's a great tip as well, a resolution that you can make. What about number 8? Number 8 is a fantastic one. New Year's resolutions from us at Sci-Train. And by the way, you can comment, ask questions, add information into the chat by commenting directly on this LinkedIn post. Resolution number 8. It's also about impact, right, Maria? Things that we can do to make sure that people know about our research.
So the things that you should always do is keep the work alive. So you can connect your research paper to reviews in the field, to blog posts, to conference, to interviews, to whatever you have put out there. On publication, just connect to other related outputs, to other papers that you probably have within your own work and within your research team's work. Summarize. Plain language summaries are very important in the biomedical sciences, for instance, to get the message across to patients, and tell people that you have published. Don't just wait for them to discover it on their own. Just announce to the world. But during the project, when you submit presentations, when you do speaking engagements, keep that data, keep those files, keep those files, keep the videos of your presentations, and have them recycled for other ways of conveying the message.
We're masters at recycling content. We always chop things up and reuse them in different places. Talking about your research, though, it's a life cycle. So during the project, what are you doing to promote what you're doing? On publication, of course, this is the most obvious of those impact checklists, connecting your final publication to other related outputs on ResearchGate, on academia, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I don't know what social media platforms are your platforms of choice. Plain language summaries. I know Maria's an expert on these. Many researchers make them, but they're not really plain language summaries. They're still quite complicated. We've seen that quite a lot, right, Maria? And one of the new companies that you've now started working with has a particular line in plain language summaries, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So Science Diffusion has a couple of ways that people can get their research papers out there through animations, through podcasts, and through different ways, connected people that you then get the impact and the broader applicability of your work clear to most people.
We'll pop the link to Science Diffusion in the LinkedIn comments underneath this post as well. But that's great start to 2025 for our dear friend Maria. Fantastic. Ongoing, you keep the work alive, connecting it to new materials, and don't forget to measure somehow. And there are many ways that you can do this. You just have to take the time to collect these data. The difference, what communication channels are being most effective for your research. I do believe that was resolution number 8. I'm not losing my mind just yet. Moving swiftly on to resolution number 9. Number 9, we're almost there. 12, don't forget, in our stack of New Year's resolutions from Sci-Train this 2025. Thinking about the actual article itself, how can you get people to read it? How can you resolve to be more effective? Well, one way is in the title, right? Maria, be compelling.
So be compelling is the thing that people will probably be first attracted to your paper is through the title you give it. So it should be concise enough that people don't get lost, but also informative. And it contain the most important words related to the topic. Most journals will allow you to place the most important keywords in the title. Some don't want that because they want keywords to be separate from your title, but you can always paraphrase, have synonyms, and figure out different ways of getting your message across. And it has to be something that intrigues the reader, that entices them without giving away what the main message is. Don't get overly sensationalized, saying you're the first or the best, or this is the great thing that's ever happened, because that is not what you want to say. You want people to have a clear idea of your takeaway message. And some journals now have to place information on study design title, because these are guidelines that need to be followed. So you'll need to say, for biomedical journals, for instance, the type of study design will give you information on the level of evidence that the study itself places on the research. So it's incredibly important to have a title that reflects what you've written in the journal, in the paper, but also compels people to read further.
Really important. I've read a study recently that shows that titles with 7 words or less actually have a higher chance of citation, because people have attention spans that are quite short. Don't fall in the trap that many people in my field, paleontology, fall into. The most gigantic, the most amazing, the most earth-shattering. These are superlatives. We don't want to see those in titles. And as Maria said, check your journal guidelines, because if it's a biomedical journal, certain kind of methodological journal, they're going to want you to put some information on the study design, but allure people, get them interested in reading the study, but without giving away the punchline. A non-declarative title is really what you want. So people think, ooh, fascinating. I'm going to want to read more. And that's something that you can also resolve to do with the help of the team at Sci-Train and thrive in 2025. What about resolution number 10? It's about the abstract, the second really important component of your actual academic article. Maria, what makes a good quality abstract?
So abstracts are sometimes the only thing people will have access to if the article is behind a paywall. So you will want to have an honest and precise account of what's in that paper, that it contains no major technical jargon. You can have p-values and things like that, because most people that will read your paper will know what these are about. But long abbreviations on very field-specific acronyms are really not that good. It should be avoided at all costs. It can stand alone. So by reading the abstract, you will have a sense of what the story and the message is, and it has to be short and specific. Word counts in abstracts are most of the time very narrowly enforced. Because of that, there's really no way that you can cite a reference, because people will not have access to those references to double check the accuracy. So the quality of an abstract will sometimes be all that the editor has to inform their decision of whether to send paper for peer review.
And you can use the abstract if you have it in your pre-submission inquiry. And as Maria said, difference between article abstracts and often conference abstracts is that you don't have any citations in there. It's got to give all of the information that talks about the paper, because this is often all that people are going to read. So resolve in 2025 to have an effective title, alluring title, and a well-written, effective abstract. Of course, if you need more help with any of this, we have entire webinars on these very topics. Do get in touch with us at scitrain.com if you'd like to learn more. It's resolution number 11. About your roadmap for writing and publishing. Again, you can develop this very, very easily. Resolve to do this early in 2025.
So you have to always have a plan. Prepare what you're going to write and figure out the bits of your story that are needed for the message to come across. A lot of people, especially in biomedical science, will like to place and publish everything they've ever done, all experiments in their paper, and it's not necessary. You only have to write up and talk about the experiments that will support or contradict your argument, but the ones that are narrowly related to what you're talking about, to your message. If you've seen something that was really, really alluring and you want to do more about it, it's a side project. Don't talk about it right now. Don't get distracted. Capture the editor's attention. Write a good abstract. Get a good title. Don't be afraid to spend some time on it, because it's incredibly important. And have a clear structure so that the readers don't get lost. And do think about writing as a process. It's not just doing the experiments and getting the data. Writing takes time. It should take time. You should get better at it as you go along. And we're to
Bit like these events, really. We have a carefully constructed roadmap, a delicately put together script, and an alluring presentation. I think that alluring is now my favorite word in English. Prepare, selling yourself, structure and effective writing. Do resolve in 2025, in order to thrive, to put together a roadmap for each of your publications very easy and effective to implement, which brings us, I'm sure you'll be delighted to hear, to New Year's resolution number 12 from us at Sci-Train here. It's my favorite science fiction fantasy author. Maria, have you heard of these guys?
Yes, I have. Of course. Who hasn't?
What did Terry Pratchett always used to say, and why is it relevant to academic writing? This is really important, particularly important, I think, in the context of article writing and publishing.
It is, because most editors, most journals say that they will focus on novel findings. And novel findings are incredibly exciting. But most of the time, they are based on what happened before. So novel findings can be novel for a very narrowly defined field, for a very narrowly defined criteria. So most of the time, what they really want is whether or not what they already know has evidence, has further support, and has more backing. So science is getting less and less disruptive, and that is because people have less and less time to move beyond what is already known. But when they do, it's by little steps. So, and that is what mainly gets published.
Resolve to know this in 2025, because it's definitely true, and even more so as we move deeper and deeper into the era of AI and using tools to help us write and using tools to help us peer review. Innovation and thinking outside the box is less and less possible, and also less and less likely to get published, as AI and the use of AI forces everything towards a consensus. A really important point to keep in mind as you write and publish successfully in 2025, which brings us to the end of this LinkedIn Live event. Maria and Gareth, how are we going to solve your problems in 2025 with writing and publishing? Well, Sci-Train.com is a great start. Do get in touch with us if you have any questions or any follow-up. Happy New Year, Maria. Have a great day.
Happy New Year.